What in the world? Why is it doing that? Ah! Okay, we're gonna just ignore what you just witnessed. That did not happen. Yes. My name is Yvonne Sherman. This is Concepts of Disease with Dr. Forbes, and I'm going to be covering Hashimoto's disease or Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And I selected this topic because my father has Hashimoto's, and I just want to know more about it because I thought it was interesting. Um, apparently, it's not a rare disease. It's just people just don't talk about it. So it's just not, I guess, broadcasted like it did, like heart disease or diabetes or cancer is. All right, so let's get into it. So just keep in mind, all my sources and references will be at the bottom until the reference page at the very end. So, what is Hashimoto's disease? Hashimoto's disease, also known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, is an autoimmune disorder where the thyroid is chronically inflamed. And um, with this, it's a small little like pear shape, well, not even pear shape, but it's this little um, gland around the thyroid that gets inflamed. And basically, like any other autoimmune disease out there, it just attacks whatever organ is in the name. So the thyroid is what's inflamed in this case. Um, and not only that, Hashimoto's is a natural common cause of hypothyroidism. So basically, what that means is if you have a severe case of Hashimoto's, it could become hypothyroidism. And hypothyroidism is the decrease in normal production of T4 in the body. T4 regulates our metabolism, our body heat, how fast our food digests and metabolizes, calorie use, I guess how easy it is for you to lose weight or how hard it is for you to lose weight. Homeostasis, digestion, it's so many facets that our thyroid is in charge of. And it's because for the simple fact that our thyroid controls all the hormones in our body and produces a lot of the hormones in our body. Um, and also, it is believed that lymphocytes react with thyroid tissue, leading to destruction of the thyroid gland tissue. And so, because of this, the loss of this tissue leaves the thyroid unable to produce adequate amounts of thyroid hormones and it can't protect itself. So, a little background, your thyroid, as I said before, is a minute gland in the back of your neck that can be found under the Adam's apple. And as I said, this gland produces a lot of the hormones that we need for our body to even, I guess, enforce daily functions that we think are, not hard to do, but it requires a lot more, internal effort than we know. And with that, Hashimoto's is not fully proven to be hereditary. However, if you do have people in your family with the pre-existing disease, or you have a history in your family of individuals with thyroid issues, you're more prone to get it, or you're more likely to get Hashimoto's later in life if you don't already have symptoms of it now. Um, and also, what I found interesting because my father has it, and it's supposedly more common in women, but it is said to be most common among women when they're in their middle ages, so like 30 and 40s. But a lot of the research I looked at and a lot of the studies had said that you can get Hashimoto's at any time, so it doesn't even matter. And this is an example or visual aid of what the thyroid looks like. Not really the cutest thing ever. So, diagnostic measures or diagnosis measures. So, I put at the top blood testing because blood testing for a long time was the biggest and easiest way to determine or detect Hashimoto's. And before I read all of this to you or give you a synopsis of what it says, for the longest time, Hashimoto's was very hard to detect and determine. And so, because of that, some people before TSH testing was a thing would do ultrasounds because that would at least let the doctor or the physician know that you have an enlarged thyroid gland. That way, they can go ahead and begin carrying out those other tests. Because with basic or vague blood testing, um, it's even like with the antibody type situation. Sometimes your test doesn't really have to come back positive or it just doesn't show up, and so people, you would never know, and so you would wait until later in life and then you would find out you have Hashimoto's, but it's just because it's just really hard to detect in a basic blood test, and that's why they move towards the antibody test, and that specifically looks for TPO or peroxidase, I think that's how you say it, and that can be found in the blood test as well. And ideally, the diagnosis is produced when patients come in with symptoms of hypothyroidism along with a goiter. And that's the big thing on your neck that they talk about in Tangled. I wish I had an example of that, but you can't see it. And a physical exam is the next thing, as well as lab tests to give everyone a heads up on what's going on. TPO antibodies are ideally high in the blood when they, so that's a huge indicator. And blood tests measure levels of thyroid hormone and thyroid stimulating hormone, as I said before, that's TSH, and that's produced in the pituitary gland, excuse me. Um, and another thing to consider or think about is Hashimoto, because it used to be so hard to detect. The second they would, have a feeling or they would see signs that you may have had Hashimoto's, they will go ahead and try to diagnose you. That way you can go ahead and get help. That way it doesn't get severe and lead to hypothyroidism. So I did a visual aid for to show you all the symptoms and stuff. So the most common one among most when it comes to thyroid ailments, excuse me, is excessive weight gain. And when I mean excessive weight gain, it's constant and it comes out of nowhere. So it's like over a month, you gain 30, 40 pounds out of nowhere. So that's usually a big identifier. And that was the, honestly, my dad has good health. He's just a bigger man. But that was how they had started to realize that maybe he had Hashimoto's, because when he was younger, I think around the time that I was born, he got really, really big out of nowhere. And this is an example of how a normal thyroid should look, but this is how it looked when it's enlarged and inflamed because of Hashimoto's or any other ailment with the thyroid. And so a lot of the symptoms, as I said before, are memory lapse or depression, enlargement of the tongue. You're always tired, you're cold, there's joint pain and stiffness, constipation, muscle aches, irritability, weakness, tenderness, stiffness, pale or dry skin, like excessively dry skin. Or and in women, usually they find out or start to ask questions if you have prolonged or excessive menstrual bleeding. And in addition to that, we have the risk factors. As I said before, sex and age are the main ones that we know of because it is hereditary. Um, but the other two facets that we haven't considered is, as I said before, is if you have pre-existing family history history with the disease, or you have a pre-existing immune disease. Um, and in addition to that, if you have lupus, type 1 diabetes, or you have rheumatoid arthritis, you're at an even higher risk. And where it says environmental radiation, they're just speaking about radiation in general. So whether that's outside or inside, from using a telephone, cell phone, watching TV, eating microwave foods, fluorescent lamps, or literally anything that has radiation in it could increase your risk of getting Hashimoto's. In addition to that, I guess a more literal aspect is if you're a lineman or you work with electric poles, or if you work at a nuclear power plant. So prevention options. There's not really any real ways to prevent Hashimoto's, especially considering it is hereditary. But with anything else in moderation, if you exercise, eat healthy, you'll be good. Um, or probably you won't get it, I guess, as fast. I'm guessing. So, as I said before, with the treatment, diet is key. But in more severe cases of Hashimoto's, they're going to go ahead and just put you on a daily thyroid hormone replacement if you don't want to get on medication. So that would be an alternative form, I guess you could do. But if it is mild or severe, as I said before, they'll just put you on levothyroxine. I don't want to butcher that word, but I just did it anyway. But they'll put you on this medication, and it will be long term. You'll probably take it until you die, and it really just serves to restore your normal thyroid hormone levels, and nothing else. The only problem is, I know my dad took it, made him sick for a while, so you have to, I don't know, it's kind of like with anything where you're changing hormones. So just like with birth control, you have to take a dosage that is self-specific to you and works good. Once you find a good dosage, supposedly you're supposed to be fine. And I guess it serves as homeostasis since it's restoring your normal thyroid levels. And these are some more alternative, medicinal things you could do, or lifestyle changes. And as I said before, eating healthy, exercising, stress management, acupuncture, and yoga are really good things people can do. Last semester I took consumer health. This is the same things they always talked about with every disease. Just about, you could get rid of diseases when you eat better, you exercise more, you're not as stressed, you do yoga or you do some type of breathing meditation that evens out the body and makes everything more calm. Because when your body's calm, um, you're more susceptible to heal faster. Your body is just more alert when you take time, to just chill out. Um, and there unfortunately isn't any community resources in Conway or Myrtle Beach that I'm aware of. As I said before, my father has Hashimoto's, and all they did was give that man a pamphlet and just refer him to these websites. So the American Thyroid Association is where I got a lot of my information, but not really. The Endocrine Society, Hormone Health and Network, Hypothyroid Mom is actually really interesting. It's kind of like Quora, but on crack, because it's this one mom, and she has a really really big fan base now, but it's just one mom, and it's really just her journey on dealing with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's with her kids. And then the last one, these are the top five, by the way, is National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disease. So yeah, and these are our references. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and that I didn't do it too fast, but thank you and have a good night.